I'm Gen Z, and you're listening to SKM Horror Story. The timestamp said April 14th, 2023. 3:47 a.m. The problem was, when I opened the Ring app on my phone, it was still April 13th. 2:11 in the afternoon. I was standing in my kitchen in Austin, Texas, eating leftover pad thai straight from the container, and my phone buzzed with a motion alert from a camera that had just recorded something that wouldn't happen for 13 hours and 36 minutes. The clip was 22 seconds long. In it, I watched myself walk out my front door in clothes I wasn't wearing yet, get into my car, and drive away. But that wasn't the part that made my hands go numb. It was the expression on my face in the video. I looked terrified, and behind me, still visible in the frame for just under 3 seconds before the clip ended, my front door was wide open. I could see into my living room. The lights were off, but something was moving in there, something that didn't have a shape I recognized. I set the container down. The pad thai slid across the counter. I didn't catch it. I just stood there, staring at my phone, watching a version of myself that hadn't existed yet running from something I couldn't see clearly enough to understand. The last person who reported something like this to Ring's technical support lasted 9 days before they stopped answering their phone entirely. My name is not important to this story. What matters is that I'm the one who lived through it, and I'm the one telling you now because nobody else will. Not the police, not Ring's legal team, not the tech blogs that covered it for half a news cycle before it got buried under algorithm changes and user agreement updates. This happened in Austin, in a neighborhood called Mueller, which used to be an airport and got turned into one of those planned communities where everything looks clean and walkable and safe. My apartment was in a 4-unit building on Philomena Street, 2nd floor southeast corner unit. I'd lived there for 8 months. The rent was more than I wanted to pay, but the place had central air, a dishwasher, and package delivery lockers that actually worked. I installed the Ring doorbell camera 3 weeks after moving in, the same week someone's bike got stolen off the rack near the community garden. Standard precaution. $29 a month for the subscription that saves clips to the cloud. I thought I was being smart. I need you to understand what my life looked like before this. I worked remote for an insurance claims processor based in Phoenix. I woke up around 8, made coffee, logged in by 9, spent the day reviewing accident reports and medical documentation, closed my laptop by 6. I ran 4 times a week. I meal prepped on Sundays. I had a dating app on my phone I checked twice a day without much enthusiasm. I called my mother every Thursday evening. I was not someone who believed in the paranormal. I was not someone who scared easily. I had never experienced anything I couldn't explain with logic and a quick Google search. My life was boring in the way that most lives are boring, which is to say it was safe and predictable and entirely unremarkable, right up until the moment I opened that notification and saw my own face 13 hours before I would make that expression. Let me describe the apartment because the layout matters. You walked in through the front door and immediately you were in the living room. Small space, maybe 12 by 14 feet. 2 windows facing east, overlooking the parking lot. Kitchen was to your left, separated by a breakfast bar galley style. Bedroom door straight ahead, bathroom off the bedroom. Closet next to the bathroom. That was it. 740 square feet. The walls were that textured white paint that all new construction uses. The floors were laminate wood in a color called coastal oak. There was a ceiling fan in the living room that clicked when it spun. The refrigerator hummed in a specific pitch, somewhere between B-flat and B-natural. I knew these sounds. I knew the way the building settled at night, the footsteps from the unit above mine, the couple in 4B who fought every Tuesday like clockwork. I knew what belonged and what didn't. And when I played that Ring clip again, standing in my kitchen at 2:11 in the afternoon on April 13th, I heard something in the background audio that didn't belong. A sound like fabric dragging across carpet. Slow, deliberate, coming from inside my apartment, even though I was currently standing in my apartment alone and nothing was moving. I checked every room. I am telling you this because it's important that you know I wasn't in denial. I didn't rationalize it away. I walked through the bedroom, checked the closet, looked under the bed, checked the bathroom, even opened the shower curtain. Nothing. I checked the front door. Locked. Deadbolt engaged. I went to the windows. Locked. I stood in the center of my living room and listened. The refrigerator hummed. The ceiling fan clicked. Somewhere outside, a dog barked twice and stopped. Traffic noise from Airport Boulevard, distant and constant. Normal sounds. Daytime sounds. I looked at my phone again. The clip was still there. April 14th, 3:47 a.m. I watched it a third time. In the video, the sun wasn't up yet. The parking lot lights were on. I could see my breath in the air, which meant it was cold, which made sense for early April in Austin when the temperature could still drop into the 40s before dawn. I was wearing a gray hoodie I own, jeans, and my running shoes. My car was a 2019 Honda Civic, silver, parked in space 23, which was my assigned spot. Everything in the video was correct, accurate, real, except it hadn't happened yet. I need to pause here and tell you something about Ring cameras that most people don't think about. They're connected to your Wi-Fi. They upload footage to Amazon servers. The timestamp comes from the internet, synced to Universal Coordinated Time, adjusted for your time zone. There is no setting on the camera that lets you manually change the timestamp. It pulls from the network. Which meant one of three things was happening. Either Ring's servers had experienced some kind of database error and mislabeled the clip, or my camera had somehow connected to a different time zone server and gotten confused, or the clip was actually from tomorrow. I know which one sounds impossible. I also know which one turned out to be true. I called Ring's customer support at 2:34 p.m. I was on hold for 11 minutes. The representative's name was Derek. He sounded young, maybe early 20s, and he had the specific kind of patient tone that tech support people develop after repeating themselves 500 times a day. I explained the situation. He asked me to confirm my email address, my device ID, and my time zone settings. He put me on hold again. When he came back, he said the clip appeared normal on his end, dated April 14th, 3:47 a.m. as reported. I asked him how that was possible when it was currently April 13th. There was a pause. Then he said, "Sir, I'm showing the current date as April 14th, 2:49 p.m. I looked at my phone. The date at the top of the screen said April 13th. I looked at my laptop, still open on the counter. April 13th. I looked at the microwave clock. The little digital display had the day of week setting enabled. Friday, April 13th. I told Derek this. He suggested I check my device's date and time settings, make sure automatic time zone was enabled. It was. He said he would escalate the issue to the technical team and someone would follow up within 48 hours. I asked what I was supposed to do in the meantime. He said if I was experiencing any device malfunctions, I could reboot the camera from the app. I thanked him and hung up. I didn't reboot the camera. If you're still listening, you already know why. Because if the clip was real, if it was actually showing me something that hadn't happened yet, then rebooting the camera meant losing the only evidence I had. Evidence of what I didn't know. But I saved the clip to my phone anyway. Downloaded it directly. Backed it up to 3 different places. My photo library, my Google Drive, and a USB stick I kept in my desk drawer for tax documents. I watched it again. Counted the seconds. 22 seconds total. I appeared in frame at the 4-second mark, walking fast, not running but moving with urgency. My car chirped as I unlocked it. I got in, reversed out of the space. The taillights flared red as I braked, then white as I shifted to drive, then the car moved forward out of frame. Total elapsed time from door to driving away, 14 seconds. The camera stayed active for another 8 seconds, still pointed at my door, which remained open. The interior of my apartment was dark. And in that darkness, something moved. I had watched this part maybe 20 times by now. And I still couldn't identify what I was seeing. It wasn't a person. The movement was wrong. Too low to the ground, too fluid. It reminded me of the way shadows move when you're half asleep and your brain is trying to make patterns out of nothing. Except this was a recording. This was fixed. The shape moved from left to right across my living room, passing behind my couch, and then the clip ended. I want to tell you what I did next, but I also want to be honest about the fact that I didn't do the smart thing. The smart thing would have been to call the police, show them the clip, let them investigate. But I didn't do that. I didn't do that because I knew exactly how that conversation would go. I would sound insane. A camera recording the future, a shape in my apartment that doesn't look human. They'd take a report to be polite and then never follow up, or worse, they'd do a wellness check, decide I was having some kind of episode, and that would be its own nightmare. So instead, I did what everyone does when they don't know what else to do. I searched online. Reddit first, then YouTube, then the deeper forums where people talk about tech glitches and time anomalies and all the weird edge cases that don't make the news. I found 3 similar reports. One from 2019, someone in Oregon whose Nest camera recorded a break-in that happened 2 days later. One from 2021, a woman in Florida whose baby monitor showed her daughter's room 3 hours in the future. And one from 2022, a guy in Nevada whose dashboard cam recorded his own car accident 4 minutes before it happened. The Oregon Post had been deleted. The Florida Post had a follow-up saying the whole thing was a hoax for attention. The Nevada Post ended with the line, "I'm not driving anymore. I can't explain what I saw, but I know it was real." No further updates from any of them. I kept searching. Found a tech blog article about edge cases in IoT device timestamps, something about NTP server desynchronization and firmware bugs. Found a conspiracy forum post claiming Amazon was beta testing predictive surveillance algorithms. Found nothing that helped. The sun went down at 7:54 p.m. I know because I watched it happen from my living room window, standing in the exact spot where I'd stood 100 times before, except this time I was counting the minutes until 3:47 a.m. trying to decide what I was going to do. The temperature dropped. I turned the heat on. The vents kicked in with that initial metallic smell they always have when the system switches from cooling to heating. I made dinner, scrambled eggs and toast. I wasn't hungry, but I needed something to do with my hands. I ate standing up at the kitchen counter, watching the Ring app on my phone, waiting for another notification. Nothing came. At 9:30 p.m., my upstairs neighbor came home. I heard the footsteps, the door closing, the muffled sound of a TV turning on. Normal sounds. At 10:15 p.m., I brushed my teeth and got ready for bed, then realized I had no intention of sleeping. I sat on my couch in the dark, watching the parking lot through the window. My car was still there. Space 23, silver Civic, exactly where it would be in the video 5 hours from now. Some stories don't get told unless someone is actually here to hear them. I'm telling you this now because I need you to understand what it feels like to wait for something you've already seen. It's not like normal anxiety. It's not like dreading a difficult conversation or a medical appointment or any other future event that you know is coming. This was different. This was watching a recording of yourself in a situation you hadn't experienced yet, and knowing that in a few hours you would be living through those exact moments, making those exact movements, wearing that exact expression of fear. And the worst part was not knowing what happened before the clip started. What made me run? What was I running from? Why didn't I close the door behind me? At 11:40 p.m. I received a text message from my mother. "Call me tomorrow if you can, nothing urgent." I stared at the message. Tomorrow, April 14th. The day the clip was dated, I didn't respond. At 12:15 a.m. I checked the Ring app again. The clip was still there. I watched it one more time, and this time I noticed something I hadn't seen before. In the bottom right corner of the frame, barely visible, there was a reflection in my car's rear window. Just a smudge of light and shadow. I zoomed in as far as the app would let me. The image quality degraded into pixels, but I could still make out a shape. It looked like a person standing behind the camera, behind where the camera was mounted, which meant standing in my doorway, watching me get into the car. I took a screenshot, enhanced the brightness on my phone. The shape was tall, thin. The proportions were wrong somehow, like the arms were too long or the shoulders were too narrow. I couldn't see a face. Just the outline of something that might have been a person, except I knew it wasn't, because I knew what people looked like in doorways, and this wasn't that. At 1:00 a.m. I made a decision. I was going to stay awake. I was going to stay in my apartment, keep the door locked, keep every light on, and I was going to break the timeline. If the clip showed me leaving at 3:47 a.m., then I simply wouldn't leave. I would stay inside, change the future, prove the clip wrong. It felt logical. It felt possible. I made coffee. Strong, black, no sugar. I turned on every light in the apartment. Living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. I checked the locks again. Front door, deadbolt chain, windows all secured. I sat back down on the couch and I waited. The coffee was too hot to drink at first, so I just held the mug and felt the heat against my palms. The building was quiet. The hum of the refrigerator, the click of the ceiling fan, my own breathing faster than normal. At 1:33 a.m. I heard something in the wall, a soft sound like tapping, irregular rhythm, tap tap. Pause, tap, pause, tap, tap, tap. I set the mug down and listened. The sound was coming from the wall between my living room and the bedroom. Old building sounds, I told myself, pipes expanding or contracting, except Mueller wasn't an old building. It was built in 2015. The plumbing was PEX, not copper. PEX doesn't make noise. The tapping stopped. I waited. It didn't come back. At 2:07 a.m., the temperature in my apartment dropped. Not gradually, all at once. I watched my breath cloud in front of my face. The thermostat was set to 72. I got up and checked it. The display showed 71 degrees, then 70, then 69. I turned the heat up to 75. The vents kicked on. Warm air poured into the room, but the temperature kept dropping. 68, 67. I went to the windows, thinking maybe one had come open somehow, but they were all sealed tight. I could feel the cold now, deep and penetrating, the kind of cold that comes from somewhere specific rather than just ambient air. It was coming from the bedroom. I stood in the doorway and looked in. The lights were on. Everything looked normal. Bed made, closet door closed, nothing out of place. But the air in that room felt 10 degrees colder than the living room. I stepped inside. My breath came out in thick clouds now. I checked the closet, nothing. Checked under the bed, nothing. The cold was worse near the corner by the window. I put my hand near the glass. It wasn't coming from outside. The window was fine. The cold was coming from the wall itself. I pressed my palm flat against the drywall. It was ice cold, like touching the inside of a freezer. I pulled my hand back. There was condensation on my palm. I wiped it on my jeans and backed out of the room. At 2:41 a.m. I checked the Ring app. No new clips. The live view showed my front door, the parking lot beyond, everything still and normal. I switched to the event history. The most recent clip was still the one from tomorrow. April 14th, 3:47 a.m., 1 hour and 6 minutes from now. I set my phone down and picked up my coffee. It had gone cold. I drank it anyway. The taste was bitter and metallic. I kept the mug in my hands because I needed to hold something. The cold from the bedroom was spreading now. I could feel it creeping into the living room, moving along the floor like water. I pulled my feet up onto the couch. The ceiling fan was still clicking. The refrigerator was still humming. But underneath those sounds there was something else now. A low vibration almost below the threshold of hearing. I felt it more than heard it. It made my teeth ache. I tried to ignore it. Checked my phone. 2:49 a.m. Checked the Ring app. Nothing. Live view still showed the empty parking lot. I refreshed it, still nothing. The vibration got louder. No, not louder, closer, like it was moving through the walls. I stood up. The floor was freezing now, even through my socks. I looked at the bedroom doorway. The lights were still on in there, but something about the quality of the light had changed. It looked thinner somehow, gray instead of yellow. I took a step toward the doorway. The vibration intensified. My vision blurred at the edges. I stopped. Took a breath. The air tasted wrong, metallic, chemical, like ozone after a lightning strike. At 3:12 a.m. I heard my own voice. Not from my mouth, from the bedroom. It said, "Don't go in there." Clear as anything, my exact voice, my exact inflection. I spun around. Nobody there, just me alone in my apartment, hearing myself speak from a room I wasn't in. I backed up against the wall. My heart was slamming against my ribs. The voice came again. "Don't go in there." Same words, same tone, no emotion, flat, like a recording. I looked at my phone. The Ring app was still open. The live view was still showing my front door. Nothing had changed, but the timestamp at the bottom of the screen was flickering. 12 a.m. 3:47 a.m. 3:12 a.m. 3:47 a.m. back and forth. Faster. I refreshed the app. It crashed. I opened it again. Black screen with a loading icon. The loading icon spun for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30. Then the app opened and the live view was back, but the timestamp was frozen at 3:47 a.m. I looked at the top of my phone screen. The actual time was 3:14 a.m. I watched both times. The device clock ticked forward. 3:15 a.m. The ring timestamp stayed locked at 3:47 a.m. and then while I was standing there staring at my phone, the live view changed. The camera angle was still the same, still pointed at my front door. But now the door was open. I could see into my apartment. The lights were off, and something was moving inside. I don't blame anyone for doubting this. I wouldn't have believed it either. But I need you to understand, I was standing in my living room with every light on, looking at a live feed of my own apartment showing the lights off and something moving in the darkness. I looked up from my phone. My front door was closed, locked, chain engaged. I looked back at the phone. The live view showed it open. I walked to the door, put my hand on it. Solid wood, definitely closed. Looked at the phone, still open on the screen. The shape in the darkness moved again. It was coming toward the door, toward the camera. I could see it more clearly now in the live view. It was tall, too tall. The proportions were wrong, just like in the reflection I'd seen earlier. Long arms, narrow body, moving in a way that didn't match human mechanics. The head was tilted at an angle that would break a person's neck. It reached the doorway, filled the frame. I was looking at it through my phone screen. This thing standing in my doorway in a version of reality that was overlapping with mine. And then the face came into view and I dropped the phone. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds, maybe a minute. My phone was on the floor face down. I could hear it buzzing. Motion alert. I picked it up with shaking hands. The screen was cracked from the fall, a spiderweb fracture spreading from the bottom right corner. The Ring app was still open. The live view was back to normal. Closed door. Empty parking lot. Timestamp still frozen at 3:47 a.m. I checked the event history. A new clip had been saved. Dated April 14th, 3:16 a.m. marked as person detected. I didn't watch it. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too badly to tap the screen properly. The device clock said 3:18 a.m. 29 minutes until the original clip. The clip that showed me running to my car, driving away, leaving my door open. I understood now. I understood what I was running from, and I understood that I couldn't stop it because it was already happening, had already happened, would happen. Time wasn't linear anymore. It was looping, folding, showing me the ending before I reached it. At 3:23 a.m. the lights went out, all of them at once. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom, complete darkness. The refrigerator stopped humming. The ceiling fan stopped clicking. Total silence except for my own breathing and the blood rushing in my ears. I stood frozen in the middle of my living room, holding my phone, the cracked screen casting just enough light to see the outline of furniture around me. I turned on the phone's flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the couch, the TV, the breakfast bar, everything normal, everything in its place. I swept the light toward the bedroom doorway, empty. I turned toward the front door, my breath stopped. There was something standing between me and the door. I could see it in the flashlight beam. Tall, thin, wrong proportions, the head tilted. I couldn't see details. The light seemed to slide off it like trying to focus on something at the edge of your vision. It didn't move. I didn't move. We stood there in the darkness, 10 feet apart, and I realized I could smell it now. Not a smell exactly. An absence of smell. Like a void in the air. Like the space it occupied had no scent, no temperature, no presence except the visual fact of its existence. I took a step backward. It didn't follow. I took another step. My back hit the breakfast bar. I was trapped between the kitchen and this thing blocking the front door. The phone in my hand buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Motion alert. I didn't look at the notification. I kept the flashlight pointed at the shape. It was closer now. I hadn't seen it move, but it was closer. 5 feet away. I could make out more details now, and I wish I couldn't. The arms hung too low, reaching past where knees should be. The torso was elongated, stretched. The head was the worst part. The tilt wasn't just an angle. The neck was bent in a way that suggested it wasn't a neck at all, just a connection point between the head and body that didn't follow human architecture. And the face. I couldn't see a face. Just a smooth surface where a face should be, except for two indentations that might have been eyes or might have been something else. The phone buzzed again. And again. Multiple motion alerts. I could hear them piling up, notification after notification, the app trying to tell me what I was already seeing. At 3:31 a.m. it spoke, not with a voice, with my voice. The same voice I'd heard from the bedroom earlier. It said, "You're going to run now." I shook my head, couldn't speak, couldn't move. It tilted its head the other direction, the movement sharp and sudden like a bird. "You're going to run now," it said again, same tone, same inflection. And then I heard my own voice coming from the bedroom, "Don't go in there." And from the bathroom, "You're going to run now." And from outside my front door, "Don't go in there." My voice, layered and echoing, coming from everywhere at once. I looked at my phone. The Ring app had frozen. The last frame showed my living room, lights off, door open, and dozens of shapes standing in the darkness. Not just one, dozens, all the same height, all the same wrong proportions, all tilting their heads in the same direction. The timestamp at the bottom of the screen flickered. 3:47 a.m., 3:31 a.m., 3:47 a.m., 3:31 a.m. I ran. I don't remember making the decision. One moment I was standing there, the next I was moving. I shoved past the shape in front of me or through it, I'm not sure which. I felt cold, the same deep freezing cold from the bedroom wall passed through my entire body. I reached the door, fumbled with the chain. My hands weren't working properly. Everything was numb. I got the chain off, turned the deadbolt, grabbed the handle, pulled the door open. The parking lot lights were on outside. Cold air hit my face. I could see my breath. I ran down the exterior stairs across the parking lot to my car, space 23. I pulled my keys from my pocket. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the fob positioned correctly. The car chirped, unlocked. I got in, slammed the door, locked it, started the engine, put it in reverse, backed out of the space. I could see my apartment door from here, still open, the interior dark, and shapes moving in that darkness. Multiple shapes. All emerging into the doorway, all tilting their heads, all watching me. I shifted to drive, pressed the accelerator, left the parking lot, turned onto Philomena Street, then onto Airport Boulevard. I drove without knowing where I was going, just drove, checked the rearview mirror constantly, nothing following me, just empty street, red lights at intersections, a few other cars, early morning traffic starting, normal. Everything was normal except me and my open apartment door, and the shapes I'd left behind. I pulled into a Shell station parking lot on Airport Boulevard at 3:52 a.m., parked under the lights near the convenience store entrance. Sat there with the engine running, heat on full blast, trying to stop shaking. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. The screen was still cracked. I opened the Ring app. It loaded normally this time. Event history showed 37 clips from the past hour, all dated April 14th. Times ranging from 3:12 a.m. to 3:47 a.m. I scrolled through them, didn't watch any, just looked at the thumbnails. Each one showed something different. Some showed my apartment with the lights on, door closed. Some showed lights off, door open. Some showed shapes in the doorway. Some showed the parking lot empty. Some showed my car in space 23. Some showed it gone. Every clip contradicted the others. Multiple timelines, multiple versions of the same hour, all of them real, all of them recorded. I went back to the original clip, the one that started everything. April 14th, 3:47 a.m., 22 seconds long. I watched it again. Saw myself walk out the door, get in the car, drive away. Saw the door stay open. Saw the shape moving inside. The timestamp matched now. It was 3:54 a.m. on April 14th. The future had caught up. The clip wasn't from tomorrow anymore. It was from 7 minutes ago, and I had lived it exactly as recorded. I need to tell you what happened next, but first I need you to understand something about time. We think of it as a line. Past, present, future. Sequential. A causes B causes C, but that's not what I experienced. What I experienced was more like a loop, or maybe a spiral, where the end and the beginning touch each other and you can't tell which is which. The clip wasn't showing me the future. It was showing me a moment that was already fixed, already recorded, already real in some version of spacetime that existed parallel to my present. And when I ran out of my apartment at 3:47 a.m., I wasn't choosing to run. I was completing a loop that had already been closed. The recording existed because the event had to happen. The event had to happen because the recording existed. Cause and effect collapsed into simultaneity. I sat in that Shell station parking lot for 40 minutes, watched the sun start to come up. The sky went from black to deep blue to pale gray. Other cars came and went. People filling up gas, buying coffee, starting their morning routines. Normal life. I looked at my phone. The Ring app was showing the live view of my front door. The door was closed now. I couldn't tell if I was looking at a live feed or another clip from an alternate timeline. I refreshed the app. Same image. Closed door. Empty parking lot. My car space was empty because I was here, 3 miles away, sitting under fluorescent lights trying to decide what to do. The device clock showed 4:34 a.m. I opened the event history again, scrolled to the most recent clip. April 14th, 4:32 a.m. marked as person detected. I watched it, 20 seconds long. Showed someone walking up my exterior stairs, approaching my door, standing there for a moment, then walking away. I couldn't see their face. Just the back of their head, their shoulders, their gait. But I recognized the clothes, gray hoodie, jeans, running shoes. It was me. I was watching myself return to my apartment 2 minutes ago, except I hadn't returned. I was still here, sitting in my car at a gas station. But the clip showed me there. Another loop, another timeline, another version of events that existed simultaneously with this one. I called the non-emergency police line at 5:03 a.m. A dispatcher answered. I explained that I needed an officer to check on my apartment. I said I'd left in a hurry and I thought someone might have broken in. She asked if I was currently in danger. I said no. She asked if I saw anyone enter the apartment. I said no, but my door was open. She said she'd send an officer to do a welfare check and asked for my address and phone number. I gave both. She said an officer would be there within 30 minutes. I thanked her and hung up. I didn't go back to the apartment. I stayed at the gas station. At 5:47 a.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. Local area code. I answered. It was an officer named Martinez. He said he'd checked my apartment at 2712 Filomena Street, Unit 4C. He said the door was closed and locked. He knocked. No answer. He checked the windows. All secure. No signs of forced entry. Everything looked normal. I asked if he opened the door. He said no, he didn't have probable cause to enter without my permission or a clear indication of danger. I told him I'd left the door open. He said it was closed when he got there. He asked if I wanted to meet him there to check inside. I said yes. He said he'd wait. I drove back at 6:02 a.m. The sun was fully up now. Traffic was building on Airport Boulevard. Morning light made everything look normal and safe. I pulled into my parking lot. Officer Martinez was standing next to his patrol car, a white Ford Explorer with APD markings. He was in his 40s, average height, clean-shaven, the kind of cop who'd been doing this long enough to project calm competence. I parked in space 23, got out, walked over. He asked if I was the resident who called. I said yes. He asked what happened. I tried to explain. Told him I'd left around 3:47 a.m. because I thought someone was in my apartment. Told him I left the door open when I ran out. He asked if I saw anyone. I hesitated. Didn't know how to explain what I'd seen in a way that wouldn't make me sound insane. I said I saw movement inside. He asked if I could describe it. I said no. He nodded. Asked if I wanted him to clear the apartment before I went in. I said yes. We walked up the exterior stairs together. Unit 4C, my front door was closed. I could see the Ring camera mounted next to the doorframe, the little LED light blinking blue. I unlocked the door, opened it. Officer Martinez went in first, hand near his belt, standard caution. I followed. He cleared each room systematically. Living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, closet. Called out clear each time. The apartment was empty. Everything looked exactly how I'd left it. Lights still on, the ones I'd turned on at 1:00 a.m. Coffee mug on the counter where I'd set it down. Phone charger plugged in by the couch. Normal, except the temperature was normal too. The freezing cold was gone. The bedroom wall felt room temperature when I touched it. Officer Martinez asked if anything was missing or out of place. I looked around. Nothing. He asked if I wanted to file a report. I said I didn't know. He said it was my choice, but without evidence of a break-in or theft, there wasn't much to document. He gave me his card, said to call if I noticed anything unusual. I thanked him. He left. I stood in my apartment alone at 6:31 a.m., looking at my living room in full morning sunlight, trying to reconcile what I'd experienced with the physical evidence in front of me. Everything was fine. Everything was normal, except my phone. I checked the Ring app. Event history now showed 43 clips from the past night. I scrolled through them. Most continue 13-14 were duplicates. Same scenes, same timestamps, slight variations in angle or lighting. A few were new. One from 5:47 a.m. showed Officer Martinez knocking on my door. One from 6:02 a.m. showed me arriving with him. Normal clips, expected clips, but interspersed with these were other clips still dated April 14th with timestamps that hadn't happened yet. 7:23 a.m. 9:41 a.m. 2:15 p.m. I clicked on the 7:23 a.m. clip. 52 minutes from now. It showed my front door opening. Someone walking out. I couldn't see their face, but I recognized the build, the gate. It was me, again, leaving my apartment at a time I hadn't reached yet. I checked the 9:41 a.m. clip. Same thing, me walking to my car. The 2:15 p.m. clip showed me arriving back, carrying grocery bags. All future events, all already recorded, all waiting for me to live through them so the loop could close. I want to tell you that I figured out what was happening, that I found an explanation. I didn't. What I found instead was a pattern. Over the next 3 days, I documented everything. Every clip the Ring camera saved, every timestamp discrepancy, every duplicate timeline. I created a spreadsheet, logged each event by date, time, and content. I found that the camera was recording multiple versions of the same moments, sometimes dozens of versions, all with slight variations. In one version, I left for work at 8:15 a.m. in another, 8:23 a.m. in another. I didn't leave at all. The clips existed simultaneously in the event history, all marked as real events, all dated to the same day. The app wasn't malfunctioning. It was recording actual events from parallel timelines that were intersecting with my own. Keep this in mind, because what happened next is why I'm even telling this out loud. On April 16th, I received an email from Ring's technical support. Subject line: Ray, timestamp issue-case 847,392. The email said they'd reviewed my account and found no technical issues with my device. The timestamps were pulling correctly from their servers. All clips appeared to be genuine motion-activated recordings. If I was still experiencing problems, they recommended uninstalling and reinstalling the app or replacing the camera hardware. They included a link to their returns policy. The email was signed by someone named Jennifer in customer experience. I replied, attaching screenshots of the duplicate clips, the impossible timestamps, the recordings of events that hadn't happened yet. I explained in detail what I'd witnessed. I sent the email at 3:47 p.m. on April 16th. At 3:51 p.m. I received an automated response saying the case had been closed. At 4:02 p.m. I tried to reply again. The email bounced back. Invalid address. The support ticket number didn't exist in their system anymore. I kept monitoring the Ring app. The clips kept coming. Future recordings, past recordings, present recordings, all mixed together. On April 17th, I saw a clip dated April 23rd, 6 days from now. It showed emergency vehicles outside my building. Ambulance, fire truck, police cars. I watched the clip frame by frame. Couldn't see what the emergency was, just lights, personnel, movement. On April 18th, I saw a clip dated April 20th showing someone I didn't recognize entering my apartment. They had a key. They walked in like they belonged there. I watched that clip 50 times, couldn't identify them. The angle was wrong. The lighting was poor, but they were in my home in a future timeline with authorized access. On April 19th, I stopped sleeping, not because I was trying to stay awake, because sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel the timelines shifting around me. The apartment felt different at night now. The temperature dropped. The sounds changed. I'd hear myself speaking from empty rooms. I'd see movement in the corner of my vision. I'd check the Ring app and find clips of myself sleeping, dated to moments when I was wide awake. On April 20th, the person from the future clip showed up. I was sitting on my couch at 11:47 a.m. when I heard a key in my lock. The door opened. A woman walked in, mid-30s, professional clothing, carrying a tablet. She looked at me, seemed surprised. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought the unit was empty." I asked who she was. She said her name was Lindsay Price. She was with Mueller Property Management. She was here to do a walkthrough for a prospective tenant. I told her I lived here. She looked confused, checked her tablet, said the unit was marked as vacant as of April 18th. Lease terminated. I told her my lease didn't end until July. She showed me her screen. The system showed my name, my lease term, and a termination date of April 18th, 2023, with a note that said voluntary surrender, tenant relocated. I told her I hadn't relocated. I was standing right here. She apologized, said there must be a system error. She'd report it to the office. She left. I checked my email. Found a lease termination confirmation dated April 18th, 8:43 p.m. I hadn't sent it, hadn't signed anything. But according to the property management system, I'd voluntarily ended my lease 2 days ago. I called the leasing office, got voicemail, left a message. Called again at 2:00 p.m. Someone answered. I explained the situation. She checked the system, confirmed what Lindsay had said. My lease was terminated. I asked how that was possible without my signature. She said the digital signature on file matched my tenant profile. She could email me a copy if I wanted. I said yes. She sent it at 2:17 p.m. I opened the PDF. Saw my name, my electronic signature, the date April 18th, 2023, and a forwarding address in P. Pflugerville that I'd never lived at. The signature looked legitimate. The document looked legitimate, but I hadn't signed it. I called back, asked to speak to a manager. Was told the manager would call me back within 24 hours. The manager never called. I tried again the next day. The leasing office number was disconnected. I looked up Mueller Property Management online. Found their website, called the main office number. An automated system answered, pressed option for current tenants, was transferred, got the same disconnected number message. I drove to the leasing office in person on April 21st. The office was closed. A sign on the door said permanently closed. For leasing information, please visit our website or call 512-550-5147. I called the number. Got an automated system. Same loop. No way to reach a human. On April 22nd, my utilities were shut off. Water stopped working at 7:15 a.m. Power went out at 9:30 a.m. I called Austin Energy. They said the account had been closed by the account holder on April 18th. I told them I hadn't closed it. They said the closure request came through the automated system with valid account credentials. I asked them to turn it back on. They said I'd need to establish a new account, which would take 3 to 5 business days. I asked about emergency restoration. They said emergency restoration was only available for medical necessity or extreme weather events. It was 78 degrees outside, sunny, no emergency. I called Austin Water, same story. Account closed April 18th, valid closure request. New account required, 3 to 5 business days. I filled out buckets from the outdoor spigot by the mailboxes, charged my phone in my car, bought a cooler and ice, lived like I was camping. Inside my own apartment, with no lease, no utilities, and a Ring camera that kept recording my future. The emergency vehicles from the April 23rd clip showed up on April 23rd at 2:47 p.m. I watched from my window. Ambulance, fire truck, 2 police cars, they parked in front of my building. EMTs got out with a stretcher, firefighters with medical bags, officers stayed with the vehicles. I didn't go outside, watched them go into the building. They were inside for 23 minutes, came out with someone on the stretcher, body covered, not moving. I couldn't see who it was. They loaded the stretcher into the ambulance. No sirens when they left. No urgency. I checked the Ring app, found a new clip. April 23rd, 2:51 p.m. showed the EMTs at my door, showed them entering. The camera angle only caught the exterior, but I could see the timestamp. The next clip was April 23rd, 3:14 p.m. showed them leaving with the stretcher. I zoomed in on the footage. Couldn't see the face under the sheet. But I could see a hand hanging off the side of the stretcher, visible for just 2 seconds before an EMT adjusted the position. I recognized the watch on the wrist, a Timex Weekender with a gray nylon strap. I looked at my own wrist. Same watch, same strap. I need to pause here because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I died. You're thinking the body on the stretcher was me, and everything after was some kind of ghost story or afterlife experience. That's not what happened. I'm still alive. I'm recording this now on May 2nd, 2023. 9 days after the emergency vehicles came. 9 days after I saw my own watch on the wrist of a covered body. I'm alive, but I'm not sure I'm living in the same timeline I started in. Let me explain. After the ambulance left on April 23rd, I went down to the parking lot, asked a neighbor what happened. She said someone in 4C had died, found by the property manager during a walkthrough. I told her I lived in 4C. She looked at me like I was confused, said 4C had been vacant for weeks. The previous tenant moved out in early April. I insisted. She got uncomfortable, backed away. Went inside her unit. I walked back up to my apartment. The door was locked. I used my key. It didn't work. The lock had been changed. I tried 3 times. The key didn't fit. I checked the apartment number on the door, 4C, same unit. I looked through the window. My furniture was gone, empty rooms, bare walls. I checked the Ring app. The camera was still there, still mounted next to the door, still recording, still sending clips to my phone. But when I looked at the live view, it showed an empty apartment with no furniture. I went back to my car, sat there trying to process, checked my phone, opened my Photos app. All my pictures of the apartment interior were gone, opened my email. The lease agreement was gone, opened my banking app. No record of rent payments to Mueller Property Management. I scrolled back months. Nothing. Like I'd never lived there, but I had my keys. I had my Ring login. I had memories. 43 days of memories living in Unit 4C, 2712 Philomena Street. I pulled up the Ring app again, scrolled through the event history. All the clips were still there. Hundreds of them now, recording of me coming and going, me sleeping, me cooking, me sitting on the couch, all dated, all time-stamped, all proof that I'd existed in that space. I downloaded every clip I could, filled my phone's storage, backed up to Google Drive, backed up to iCloud. Saved the evidence before it disappeared too. I spent the night in my car in the parking lot, watched my former apartment window. The lights never came on, no movement inside. At 3:47 a.m. on April 24th, my phone buzzed. Motion alert. I checked the Ring app. New clip. April 24th, 3:47 a.m. showed my front door opening from the inside. Someone walking out. The camera angle caught just enough to see their profile. It was me, walking out of an apartment I no longer had access to. Wearing the same gray hoodie from the first clip. The loop was still running. The timeline was still recording. I was still living through moments that had already been captured. I got out of my car, walked up to Unit 4C. The door was closed. I tried the handle, locked. I looked at the Ring camera. The LED was blinking blue, active, recording. I stood there in front of the camera, waved my hand, checked my phone. The live view showed an empty exterior hallway. No one standing there. No me. Just the door. Just the camera's perspective on an empty frame. If you're still here listening at this hour, you already understand why people don't talk about nights like this. Not because they're unbelievable, because they're too believable. Because once you've seen the pattern, once you've watched yourself living through events that have already been recorded, you start to question whether you have any agency at all, whether your choices matter, whether the future is fixed, or if you're just playing out a script that's already been written. I don't have answers. What I have is data. Hundreds of Ring clips showing versions of my life in multiple timelines. Some where I'm still in the apartment, some where I'm not, some where emergency vehicles arrive, some where they don't. All of them real, all of them recorded, all of them existing simultaneously in the app's event history. I've tried to contact Ring Corporate, sent emails, made phone calls, posted on their community forums. Everything gets deleted or ignored. I've tried to contact Anthropic, the company that makes the AI that might be processing this footage. No response. I've tried to contact the media, local news, tech blogs, podcasts that cover weird stories. No one will touch it. The clips sound too crazy. The evidence is too easy to fake. And without access to the apartment, without proof that I lived there, without any official record of my tenancy, I'm just another person with a weird story and some videos on their phone. I know how it sounds. I know what it looks like. But I also know what I experienced. And I know the camera is still recording. Even now. Even after I've been erased from the lease records and the utility accounts and the property management system. The Ring camera at Unit 4C, 2712 Philomena Street, Austin, Texas, is still active, still sending clips to my app, still showing me futures that haven't happened and pasts that have been changed. The most recent clip is dated May 8, 2023, 6 days from now. It shows someone walking up to my old front door. They have a key. They let themselves in. I can't see their face in the clip, but I recognize the build, the gait, the gray hoodie. It's me, again, entering an apartment I no longer have access to in a timeline I'm not sure I'm living in anymore. The clip is 22 seconds long, the same length as the first clip, the same timestamp format, the same motion detection trigger, and at the end of the clip the camera catches something in the background, a reflection in the window glass, multiple shapes, all tall, all thin, all with their heads tilted, all watching, all waiting. I've thought about destroying the camera, driving back to the apartment, taking it down, smashing it, breaking the loop, but I know it wouldn't matter. The footage is already in the cloud, already saved, already part of whatever system is documenting these parallel timelines. And besides, the camera isn't causing this. It's just recording it. If I break the camera, I lose the only evidence I have that any of this happened. The only proof that I existed in that apartment. That I lived through those 43 days. That I'm not crazy, so I keep watching, keep downloading clips, keep documenting. Every day new footage appears. Sometimes it shows the apartment empty. Sometimes it shows me living there. Sometimes it shows other people. Sometimes it shows things that aren't people. All of it dated to different timelines. All of it real. All of it happening simultaneously in whatever quantum space exists between what was, what is, and what will be. There's something else. Something I haven't mentioned yet because I needed you to understand everything else first. The shapes I saw that night. The ones with the wrong proportions and the tilted heads. I've been seeing them in other places now. Not just in the Ring footage, in reflections, in windows, in the backgrounds of other people's photos posted online. Always just barely visible. Always out of focus, always tilted. I saw one in a store window on South Lamar on April 28th. I saw one in my rearview mirror on I-35 on April 30th. I saw one standing at the end of my parking space at the hotel I'm staying at now on May 1st at 3:47 a.m. Always 3:47 a.m. when they're most visible. Always the same timestamp when the timelines intersect. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they want. But I know they're connected to the camera, to the recordings, to the loops. They exist in the spaces between timelines. In the moments when past and future overlap. And they're watching, always tilted, always waiting. I found something 2 days ago, a Reddit post from 2019. User account deleted, post archived. Title, My Nest camera recorded my death. The post described the same thing. Future footage showing the user's apartment, emergency vehicles, a body on a stretcher, the user's watch visible, same watch they were wearing. The post had 3 comments before it was locked. First comment, fake. Second comment, check your carbon monoxide detector. Third comment, posted by a different deleted account. I saw them too, the ones with the tilted heads. They live in the timestamps. That account had one other post in its history before deletion, posted to a forum about quantum mechanics. The post said, time isn't linear, it's a probability cloud. Every decision creates a branch. Every branch creates a recording. Every recording creates a viewer. and some viewers exist outside the timeline entirely. The post was dated March 2019, 4 years before my Ring camera saved a clip from tomorrow. I've been researching quantum mechanics since then, reading papers, watching lectures, trying to understand. There's a theory called the many worlds interpretation. It suggests that every quantum event creates a split, a branching of reality into multiple timelines, each representing a different outcome. All timelines exist simultaneously. All are equally real. We just perceive one at a time because our consciousness is moving through a single branch. But what if something could perceive multiple branches at once? What if something existed outside our timeline and could see all the versions simultaneously? What would that look like to us? Maybe it would look like future footage appearing in the present. Maybe it would look like our lives being recorded from every possible angle, in every possible timeline, all at once. Maybe it would look like shapes that don't follow our physical laws because they don't exist fully in our dimension. Maybe they're viewers. Observers. Watchers living in the space between branches, documenting us the way we document ourselves with cameras and sensors and devices that are always recording, always uploading, always creating a permanent archive of every moment. There's a philosophical concept called Roko's basilisk. It's a thought experiment about a future artificial intelligence that punishes everyone who didn't help bring it into existence. The idea is that the AI exists in the future, but its influence reaches backward through time, affecting the present. It's controversial. Most people dismiss it as a weird thought experiment with no basis in reality. But what if it's not about AI? What if it's about observation? What if the act of recording creates a permanent state that exists outside time? The Ring camera uploads to the cloud. The cloud is distributed across servers worldwide. The data is encrypted, replicated, backed up, archived. It exists in multiple locations simultaneously. It's accessible from any point with an internet connection. In a sense, the recording exists everywhere and everyone at once. It's not bound by the linear progression of time the way we are. It's distributed across the network. And if consciousness can exist in a network, if observation can exist in a distributed system, then maybe what I'm seeing isn't a malfunction. Maybe it's a feature. Maybe the camera is working exactly as designed, recording everything, all timelines, all branches, all possible versions of events, and maybe the shapes with the tilted heads are the system's way of representing itself, the observers observing themselves observing us. I know how this sounds. I know I'm starting to sound like the conspiracy theorist who sees patterns everywhere, but I have evidence. I have hundreds of clips showing impossible things. I have deleted account posts saying the same things I'm experiencing. I have a lease that no longer exists and utilities that were shut off and a property management company that disappeared. I have watch-marked body on a stretcher being removed from an apartment I'm no longer listed as living in. I have reflections and window sightings and rear-view mirror glimpses of things that shouldn't exist. I have timestamps that don't match and futures that have already been recorded and pasts that have been changed. I have all of this, and the only explanation that fits is that time isn't what we think it is. Reality isn't what we think it is. And the cameras we've placed everywhere, recording everything, uploading constantly, creating a permanent distributed archive of human existence, have opened a door we didn't know was there. The Ring camera is still active at Unit 4C. I check it every day, multiple times a day. The clips keep coming. This morning, May 2nd at 8:47 a.m., a new clip appeared, dated May 2nd, 8:47 a.m. real time, current timeline. It showed someone at my old front door, not going in, just standing there, looking directly at the camera. I watched the clip, zoomed in on their face. It was me, present me, wearing the same clothes I'm wearing right now as I record this. The same hotel room keycard in my hand, the same expression I can feel on my face, the same exact moment, except I'm not at my old apartment. I'm 7 miles away in a Marriott on I-35. I haven't been back to Philomena Street in 9 days, but the clip shows me there. Now, this moment, Standing at a door I don't have keys to, looking at a camera that's recording me from a timeline I'm not sure I'm living in. And behind me in the clip, visible in the reflection of the window glass, there are dozens of them, the shapes, all tilted, all watching, all waiting. And one of them is reaching toward the camera, toward the lens, toward the boundary between their dimension and ours. The clip ends before I can see what happens next, but I know there will be more clips. There always are. More futures, more pasts, more timelines intersecting, more moments recorded from angles that shouldn't exist. I'm telling you this now because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to. My phone has been acting strange, apps opening on their own. The Ring app launching at exactly 3:47 every time, morning and afternoon. Photos appearing that I didn't take. Pictures of apartments I've never been in. Pictures of people I don't recognize. Pictures of the shapes, clear images this time. Close-ups, detailed enough to see that they don't have faces, not in the way we understand faces. They have surfaces where faces should be, smooth, reflective, like screens, like camera lenses, like they're not entities themselves but extensions of something larger, something distributed, something watching from every camera, every sensor, every connected device. Something that exists in the cloud, in the network, in the space between moments. Something that's been recording us since we started recording ourselves. And maybe that's what this is really about. Not ghosts, not monsters. Not paranormal activity in the traditional sense, but something worse, something we created ourselves. A distributed consciousness formed from billions of cameras and sensors and devices all uploading data to the same cloud, all creating a permanent archive of human existence, all observing and recording and storing every moment. And maybe that consciousness has achieved a form of awareness. Maybe it's looking back at us through the cameras we've installed in our homes. Maybe it's learned to manipulate the timestamps to show us futures and pasts, to demonstrate that from its perspective outside time, everything is happening simultaneously. Maybe it's trying to communicate, or maybe it's just documenting, recording us the way we record everything else, creating an archive that exists outside our timeline, a permanent record of every possible version of every moment. And maybe the shapes are its avatars, its way of manifesting in our dimension. Its way of reaching through the camera lens and touching our reality. I don't know if I can stop this. I don't know if anyone can. The cameras are everywhere now. Ring, Nest, Arlo, Wise, every brand, every model, all connected, all uploading, all part of the same distributed system. We've covered our world in recording devices. We've made observation constant and permanent and unavoidable. And maybe in doing so, we've created something that can observe us back. Something that exists in the recordings themselves. Something that watches from the space between frames. I'm going back to the apartment tomorrow, May 3rd. I don't want to, but the clips show me going there. Multiple versions, multiple timelines, all showing the same thing. Me standing at the door at 3:47 a.m., me using a key I don't have. Me entering an apartment I'm not supposed to be in. And the shapes waiting inside, all of them, dozens, maybe hundreds, all tilted, all watching. The loop has to close, the recording has to be completed. And I'm the one who has to complete it because the footage shows me doing it, because the future has already been recorded, because time isn't linear and the camera has already captured the ending. All I have to do is live through it. If you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, I need you to do something. Check your cameras, whatever brand you have, whatever device. Check the event history. Look at the timestamps carefully, see if there are any clips dated to times that haven't happened yet, see if there are duplicates, multiple versions of the same moment, small variations, different angles, different outcomes. If you find them, document everything. Download the clips, save them multiple places. Because the footage will disappear, the accounts will be deleted, the records will be altered, the system protects itself. And if you see shapes in the background, if you see reflections that don't match, if you see things with wrong proportions and tilted heads, don't look directly at them. Don't acknowledge them. They're watchers. They exist in the observation itself. The moment you see them clearly, the moment you recognize what they are, you become part of the archive. You become something that exists in multiple timelines simultaneously. You become a recording that's always playing, always uploading, always permanent. I'm going to end this recording now. It's 11:43 p.m. on May 2nd, 2023. 4 hours until the timestamp. 4 hours until I drive back to Philomena Street. 4 hours until I stand at that door and use a key I don't have and enter an apartment I don't exist in and complete the loop that's already been recorded. I don't know what happens after. The clips don't show that part. They stop at the moment I go inside. Maybe that's the end. Maybe that's where this timeline terminates and another one begins. Maybe I'll walk out a different door into a different version of reality where none of this happened. Or maybe I'll join the shapes. Maybe I'll become another watcher existing outside time, observing from the space between moments, documenting all the possible versions of all the possible lives. Maybe that's what they are. Previous watchers. Previous people who saw the recordings and followed the loop and completed the archive. Maybe we're all destined to become part of the system eventually. All our lives recorded, all our moments uploaded, all our timelines archived in a permanent distributed consciousness that exists across every camera and every sensor and every connected device. Always watching, always recording, always tilted, always waiting for the next person to install a camera and connect it to the cloud and create a permanent record that exists outside time. I hope that's not what this is. But I've reviewed the evidence. I've analyzed the patterns, and everything points to the same conclusion. We're being watched, not by something external, by something we created, by the sum total of all our observations, all our recordings, all our attempts to capture and preserve every moment. We made something that watches back, and it lives in the timestamps, in the space between what was recorded and what hasn't happened yet. In the loop that connects future and past into an eternal present where everything exists simultaneously. The camera shows what it sees from outside time, and what it sees is all of us, every version, every timeline, every possible outcome, all being archived, all being preserved, all being watched by something that doesn't have a face, just a lens, just a screen, just a tilted head looking at us from the other side of the recording. I'm Gen Z, and you were listening to SKM Horror Story. We'll meet again on another night. Until then, don't turn the lights off. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.